Hello everybody. Hello. Here I'm again a couple of minutes early, just to make sure that everything is fine. And let me refresh to make sure. Am I streaming or not? Yeah, looks like I'm streaming. All right. Yeah, again, as always, I log in a couple of minutes early just to start the stream, because it looks like this software, if you're logged in, if you're on our live page before the stream starts, then the stream starts, but you're not notified, and you have no idea. You're waiting for it to start, but it's already there. So all you need to do is hit refresh, but many people don't know it. So I just start 2 minutes early, and I talk about random stuff until we get going. So now we're on time. It's 6 o'clock, and so I'll give it just another minute or two, and then we'll go. So just one moment. Okay, right, so here we go. Okay, I usually wait for 1 minute for people to show up, or more people to show up, depending. But now it's a minute past 6, so I might as well start. So again, welcome. This is the 6th webinar in our series where we introduce Phi and some of its capabilities and the tool set that it offers and all of that to help you get started using Phi if you're interested in doing that. And I am Stefanos. I'm one of the founders of Phenometry and one of the developers of Phi, and I'm hosting these webinars. Last week, in the 5th episode, we talked about moving, scaling, and dimensioning things, and we showed everything you need to know about the move manipulator and the scaling interfaces and all of that, and also the position and the projection and all of that. And so, a reminder to subscribe to our channel on YouTube and also follow us on social media if you do that. It makes us happy to have followers. And so today I'm going to be talking about how you can fix or delete or dissolve objects. The concepts here are a little different than what you may be used to, and also how you can make faces invisible and then bring them back and things like that. And also I have a little design of a classic old Ericophone that I'll try to very quickly demonstrate at the end. I'm not gonna have time to go through all of it. And as always, please feel free to ask any questions. You can write everything you want in the chat, and I'll keep an eye there. And even if I don't notice it exactly, I always try to leave a few minutes at the end for questions. So yeah. And so this is today. So let me switch to the application and get started. So as always, I run Phi from within the Onshape environment. As you know, we're an Onshape integrated application. Onshape is the fastest growing cloud CAD application, and it comes with an app store which is full of very useful other additional applications that complement its capabilities. So if you're familiar with the Onshape environment, you'll immediately recognize that we are within an Onshape document, and one of the tabs at the bottom is the Phi tab. So this is where our application runs within Onshape. And if you're not already subscribed to Phi, all you need to do is click on this icon which will take you to the App Store, to the Onshape App Store in a separate tab. And then you go into Design and Documentation and you will find Phi there. So you click on subscribe and then you come back to your document. You need to refresh, so log out and log in, or just refresh the browser, I'm not sure. And then in this little plus icon menu in applications, you will find Phi and any other applications you have subscribed to. And so this brings us to this interface that you see here. I just made myself smaller. And as I said, we're going to be talking about fixing, deleting, dissolving, and things like that. So I usually start with a simple shape, and I will do that today too, just a little cube. And I have already, oh wow, it looks like I've been logged off of Onshape. I left this tab open for a long time, so let me refresh it for just a moment. I should have done this before, but it's fine. So there we are, back into Phi in our Onshape tab, loading. There we are. So here we are. So I'm loading this cube, I'll give it a name, I'll call it cube. And there it is. So as you know, and as I've presented in previous webinars, the direct way to interact with any model is to drag around vertices or deform edges, or you can use the move tool and a bunch of other things that we already discussed. However, very often it is convenient to fix a part of your design to make sure that no matter what you do, it will not be affected. And the way to do it is to select one or more elements. For example, I can select this face, or I can box select the entire upper part of this body. And then you hit the little anchor icon, the fix button. And so this turns darker gray. And now if I try to do something to that, I cannot. And I get just a little message here, a little warning that I'm trying to modify a fixed object. I can still do modifications to the rest of the body, of course, but this part is not going to change. And that's very convenient. And if I select more items, for example, I will select this side also, I can add them to my set of fixed objects. And instead of clicking on the fix button, I can also use the X shortcut, X for fixing. Now, if I want to unfix some objects, I select them again. And if everything I've selected is fixed and I hit X, it works as a toggle. It unfixes it. Now you will have noticed maybe that I selected this part to unfix, but also this top part was unfixed. And this is because if you unfix, for example, this edge or this vertex, which is attached to a fixed face or a fixed edge in that case, these will also become unfixed, because otherwise they cannot allow the vertex or the edge to become unfixed, because being unfixed, it means that I have the freedom to move it. But if I move this edge, I'm automatically changing this face. So we unfix sometimes elements that are connected with other elements that we are unfixing. If you select everything, for example, and some of the stuff here is fixed and some isn't, then Shift X is the command to force an unfix. So X fixes, Shift X unfixes. But if you select only fixed stuff, X will act as a toggle and will unfix it, just so you can move a little faster. Right, so that's about fixing objects. And all right, so let me proceed now to deleting. So again, you can delete elements of your design. For example, I may want to delete this edge. So I select it, and either I hit the delete button that you see here, or I can use the backspace as a shortcut, and the effect is the same. The edge was removed, and what happened here is that given that I removed that edge, the two faces that were attached to it needed to be replaced by something else. So we replace it by one single face that will take a shape based on everything that is around. So the edges all around it, all around the area that this new face will occupy. Now, if I add two vertices over there with the V shortcut and then an edge between them with the E shortcut, like I did, if I delete this edge, the edge is gone, the surface united as one, but the two vertices are left, let's say, hanging on the edges. And sometimes we want to remove the entire structure, including the vertices. In that case, if you hit the backspace button while you keep the Shift key pressed, then we remove the edge, but also the vertices. Again, you can, if you have a vertex on an edge, you can select the vertex and delete it. But you will notice that after we delete the vertex, we do a little smoothening of the entire edge. And that's just because if you have an edge that is has a shape that is a little complex, on deleting the vertex, we smoothen it to make sure it's not left in a strange state. However, if you Shift delete the vertex, we do not do the smoothing, and you're left with an edge that has a shape that most likely you're not going to want. But it's your choice. So again, we see the use of the shift modifier, which we see again and again in, I think, every week. Now we see it used in deleting edges, where Shift delete also deletes the vertices attached to the edge, as long as they're not attached to more than two other edges. And also Shift delete a vertex, deletes the vertex without smoothing the edge. Now I want to show something else. I have selected two faces and I will hit Shift V on one edge. So this goes and adds a vertex on the edge over which I pressed V, Shift V, but also on all of the edges around all of the selected faces. This is just a reminder of something we discussed, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And now that we are here, we may want to remove all of these vertices at once. And for this, there's a convenience. If you hit the 2 button, number 2, this deletes all of the vertices that are, let's say, free vertices. And by free vertices, let me undo, I mean vertices that are only sitting on 2 edges. So if the vertex is gone, we are left with 1 edge. This here is not a free vertex, it controls 3 edges. And again, as you saw when I hit 2, all of the edges were smoothened, whereas if I hit Shift 2, the vertices are gone, 7 vertices are gone, but we don't smoothen the edges. Now, so I showed that you can delete vertices, you can delete edges. However, you cannot delete faces. If I hit delete, I see a little message that's telling me that I cannot delete a face. Now, there is a fundamental reason for this, which is that internally, Phi wants to maintain closed brep bodies always. So if I were to delete the face completely, I would break this fundamental requirement. I would be left with a set of faces that does not amount to a closed brep body. However, in my design work, in your design work, you may want to remove faces anyway. So, one way to operate on faces is what I showed earlier, the dissolve command. So if I select, for example, these 3 faces and I hit dissolve, we do this operation where we remove the faces and all of the edges between them, and we replace them with one face that captures the area where the initial faces were sitting. I will undo. So the dissolve command is also useful, for example, if I do a pop-out here, and I have created this new volume. If I select all of it, and I hit dissolve, it's gone. I will also add back this edge, by the way. And also I want to demonstrate a different case. I will do a pop-out here, and another pop-out after that, and I will pull it out a little more. I don't know, I'll do a scaling. Okay. So as you see, there's Let me smoothen these edges here, make them a little nicer. It doesn't matter. So anyway, you see that there is a ring of faces here all around this, the center of this body, and I have selected all of them with a box select. Now, if I do a dissolve here, what will happen is that these faces are removed. We substitute the gaps left on either side with new faces. So this is a new face and this is a new face. But we have also split our object, our body, in two, because we basically sliced through it. We removed a loop of connected faces all around it. So dissolving could also lead in us splitting a body in two, and that's a convenient way of working sometimes. Okay, but so now I can shift click on any face here and I hit delete to delete the entire body. So one more thing, if you select all of the faces of a body and you hit delete, then the entire body is gone. You're not left with hanging edges or anything like that. So I'm left with this initial body here. So now really, back to the issue of deleting. Suppose I really want this face to go away. Then underneath the delete button, I have this toggle face visibility button. And if I click on it, then this face that was there has been removed. So by toggle, it's effectively made invisible, but for practical purposes, it's gone. So you don't see it anymore. You can continue your design work and it's not there. Let me turn on the inside red so that the inside of our body is red. So now you can continue your design work and this face is gone, and I can do the same over here. So I'm left with this body here, and no matter what I do, it's handled as an open body. At any moment, I can go back and fill this gap. How do I do this? I select any edge around the gap, just one is enough, or you can select all of them if you want. And then again, I go into this same button. This is a toggle. So if we detect that we are sitting, the edge that is selected is sitting at the border of a gap, of an invisible face effectively, and I click it, it will bring back faces to fill this gap. Now, it will not bring back the one single face that was there or any faces that were there earlier. What it will do is it will create a new set of faces to fill this gap, and it will triangulate them. So it will split them in triangular parts. And the reason for this is that it's generally a more convenient way to work. I won't go into too much detail. So what I did now is I selected everything and I hit the linear button. We haven't talked about this yet. So this made all of my edges linear. And so if, for example, I pull out this vertex with a shift key press, so I'm moving vertically, I have this area here. And I can go back on the opposite side. I can select, for example, one edge, and then I will hit toggle face visibility again, and I get the same effect. Now, if I select, I used the brush select, so I had the B key pressed and I moved over these faces, and I hit make invisible, I've removed those faces there. And if I select an edge and hit make visible, you see again it is filled with a set of triangular faces, not exactly what we had earlier, but that's fine. We're going for a way of filling in the gaps that makes sense, that is safe, let's say, so it gives you these triangular faces that fill in a reasonable way the gap, and so we're back to a completely closed B-rep body. And one last thing I wanted to show here is the following. Let me restart just to give an example. Suppose I start with an open face directly, like this one here, and I split it also in 4. So you see here that, as always, faces have two sides. The red side is the inside the inner side of the body. Now, if you have an open face, it doesn't necessarily have any meaning inside and outside because there's no closed body. However, you can still do some operations that turn a body into an open face into a closed body. And one such operation we saw last week or the week before, and it's the thicken command. So here I have selected, so you see that the red side is the bottom side, and I select this body, and then I will do a thicken, and it will turn into a body, you see here, by effectively replicating the shape of the bottom side. So we have a closed body. What was important here is that by thickening, it moved in the direction that was not red. So it moved upwards. So this is the outside direction of my body. I may want to move in the opposite direction. And for this reason, if I select my body, we have under the dissolve menu, we have this icon for flip faces. So if I select flip faces, what happens is that I have turned the inside and outside of this object reverse. So now the red side is upwards, and so if I do a thicken, the thicken will happen in the opposite direction, going downwards. So effectively we are thickening. When we thicken, we're always looking towards the outside part of our body, and so in this case I thickened in the opposite direction than before. And so we discussed about fixing objects, about deleting and making invisible, about dissolving, and also about making invisible gaps, again closed surfaces, and finally about flipping the side of faces. Just a note here that if we have a closed body, like we do here, then the flipping command is not enabled, because it doesn't make sense to flip the inside out of a closed body. You're effectively exchanging the entire outside world with an inside area, space, which does not make sense. So the flip is only active when we have open faces. So for example, here I will make invisible these parts, these faces. So now this is an open body, and if I select it, the flip is available to me. Okay, I think that this is basically the material that I wanted to cover today, and you find it all here in this menu. So let me go into a little design work in these last few minutes that we have left. Let me just check. I don't see any questions. So I will refresh to start a new model. Yes, I'm sure that I want to refresh. And in fact, I will not load anything. I will start with a completely blank screen, and I will bring in two reference images. We haven't spoken about references yet. I think this may be coming next week. So I will select importing reference images. And these are two images of this Erico phone that I have spoken about. So it's a front view and a side view. So I select the front view image. Actually, you can see these files. They have been uploaded into my document, so they're sitting here in separate tabs. And I wanted to go in the front. I could specify the size, but it's fine. I will just go with whatever default size Phi will select. So here it is. And I will also click this button again. And now I will select the side, and I will click on side. So by clicking on front, side or top, it does an automatic placement of the image either in the XY plane, YZ or XZ. However, as we will see just now, we can go in and change the positions of everything. So that's just a convenience. So first of all, I noticed one thing. The second face that I loaded is much larger than the first one, the second image. So if I had specified the height and made it like 20 centimeters for both, I'd be done. But I didn't, so now I need to change this a little bit. So what I do is in this menu, I click the little pen, which stands for editing. And then I select this image. I bring up the usual move tool that you know, and I shift scale it down to make it the same size as the other image, which I did there. And by the way, sometimes it's convenient to work with the images crossing like that. I usually move them out of the way. So I again bring up the tool and I move this image about there. And then I'll select this one and I will also move it down here. So this gives me a better, like a box with which to work. I don't know, that's completely up to you. And then I click this little icon again to exit the edit image mode, now that I have positioned them. And now I will start my design work by bringing in a cylinder. There it is. Now let me switch into this view. I will select the cylinder, M, I will scale it down, I will rotate it. Let me zoom in, oops, that's too much. Scale it down a little more. And I will try to place it around here. Yeah, something like that. So that's a starting point for my design. Then I will grab the lower part, as you see. Let me hide the vertices, I don't care about them. And M to pull it down all the way here, where there is an indentation, like that. And I'll do another pop out over there to go all the way down here. I'll rotate it. And I'll scale this to make it like that. And finally, one more pop out on the top. And I'll come all the way to the top of this handle. And I will scale this up also a little more. And I think that's about right. So obviously we don't have continuity here. Let me look at it from the other view. All right, so obviously we need to make this thicker, not a problem. I'll scale it like this. And I'll scale the top even more. And also I will pull this further up. And I also need to add two vertices here, I think, and place them over there. Let me flip to the opposite view. And bring this in there. Okay, I could do more design work now, but with time running out, I will what I will do is I will add a couple of vertices over there, and I will move them in, and then I will do a shift smoothing over these curves. Okay, so they're back in place, and I should do the same over here. Right, so this is more decent, I think. Now back to this view. Obviously I need smoothness across there and across there, and same here and in the opposite side. And we have seen that if you shift click on the smooth icon, it smoothens the loops of edges without, however, moving the vertices. But in this case, sorry for the alarm that's ringing. I think that what we really want to do is give this shape and a vertex there. So now what we want to do is effectively to keep these two parts, this part of the edge fixed. So I will fix it as we just learned. And then I will smoothen these three together, and I will allow, let me hide the tooltips, they get in the way. I will allow these to move their vertices to deform. So as you see, we get a smoothening of the edges and the vertices moving as well. However, this vertex that this part of the edge that we fixed at the top did not move. And we need to do the same with the rest of the edges. So I will basically fix the entire upper part of the phone, and then I will smoothen these three edges together. And you see how the smoothening is now moving this part of the edge, but not the top that I have fixed. And I'll do the same. I should have done the same in one go, but that's fine. I'll do it over here as well. And now moving downwards, I will do one more pop out over here. And I'll come all the way to this indentation, and I'll make it wider. Something like that, going fast now because we are running out of time. And I will also make this semi-transparent, and I will add this indentation that we have over there. In fact, I will completely hide my faces for a moment. I see that I will remove the smoothness between these two edges so that I have more freedom here. And I will deform this part like that, and this part at the rear. Let me show the faces again. I will fix this part, and I will add smoothness between these two edges. And you see that since this part is fixed, it didn't deform it at all. It only deformed this part of the edge. And I'll do the same over here. I smoothen the two, and only the upper side deforms. Now I see that I got it pretty wrong. I should have, I don't know why I went so outside the shape of this phone. Probably working faster than I should have. But one more step. I'm unfixing everything with the Shift X command. And let me just do one more pop out over here to create this indentation that we see, and I'll go quite close to this initial shape. And one last pop out to go down to the bottom. Now I'm really rushing this, so apologies for that. And we also need to smoothen it in the opposite side. So I fixed the lower part of the phone to make sure I don't mess with that at all, and then I will shift smoothen these two edges. So what I demonstrated here is that by fixing this part at the bottom, I did a smoothen across the entire length of the edges without changing at all the lower part. And here we are. I'll just very quickly send this over to Onshape. I'll just call this phone to demonstrate the outcome. I'm already running over time, and sorry about that. I always try to keep these down to 30 minutes maximum, but let me just complete this over in Onshape with Onshape. So meantime, I'll hide my edges, and this is the model that I very quickly created. I see that I didn't do a great job, sorry about that. And here we are in Onshape, and it's been translated into a not very nice looking Onshape Part Studio. I didn't get a chance to change the shape of these edges. Anyway, okay. The point was just to show how I used fixing to modify parts of my model without affecting other parts that I fix. And this was just a very, very quick example of designing with Phi and by a not expert designer. So thanks again. Back to my little presentation. Where is it? There it is. As I said, this was the 6th tutorial, and I am Stefanos, and next week we'll have the next one. And please feel free to send over any cases that you may have and want us to have a look at and discuss with you, or help you out if you need any help in completing them. It will be a great pleasure for us. So thank you, and signing off until next week.